Donk Nation, Jacks and Janets, greetings and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some Steelers talk. It should be a sad episode of Steelers talk, but it's weird, Gingy, because we have a really high to talk about and a really low to talk about. Win in the division, loss in the division.
True.
Does fake football really count, though, Gingy? Does it count?
Yep, it's going to count as an L for the Steelers, one that I bet you they're going to regret later on, Donkey. Really let one go. Let one go. I mean, it's not the end of the season for sure, but they really are wishing that they probably had that one back.
For sure. It felt like a Mike Tomlin loss, and we'll get into that more. Not a whole lot to talk about going forward since we'll have another episode before the Cincinnati game where we come off a pseudo-bye and they come off a real bye. But, Gingy, do you want to start with the highs of the winning against Baltimore at home or the lows of losing at Cleveland? Which one do you want to start off with here? Steelers choice.
I think we're going to go with the less recent first, the Baltimore game. Let's go the highs.
The Baltimore game, what do we want to talk about in this game? Offense that doesn't score touchdowns is not sustainable. Beating Baltimore is always sweet. Harbaugh seems to be so lost in his head that he can't figure out how to beat Mike Tomlin. Which point do you want to start with, Gingy? Because those were the three main takeaways for me. And finally, the defense looked good enough.
Yeah, definitely looked good enough. You want to talk about takeaways, right? That's what you pull from that game. Clean game, didn't give it away, didn't make the critical mistake, and really kept Lamar Jackson under wraps. You want to talk about an okay defense, right? That Baltimore team was red hot. Man, they're scoring 30 points a game consistently, and, to come out of there with them scoring only, 16 points? That is a major victory for that defense, in my opinion.
Defense did a great job. I'm going to be honest here. Everyone in the world knows the Pittsburgh Steelers struggle against the run. Would you like to explain to me how in a game that was a one-score game, the whole damn game, Gingy, Derrick Henry only touched the ball 13 times? What the hell?
They constantly do this. They stop running with Lamar Jackson. They stop primarily utilizing their RB1. They do this every time when they play the Steelers, and it never works out for them. They have it for them all the time, I think, but they don't use it. No,
it doesn't. Often. And I'll be honest with you, that Lamar looked like previous versions of Lamar, not the one who was throwing the ball this year, man. He struggled throwing the ball. You could see that as Monchen, the offensive coordinator for Baltimore. You see that in the first quarter, Lamar struggling throwing the football. Don't you start leaning on the run game? I guess not. I guess Harbaugh wanted to prove that he's the smarter man, and we know what the Steelers' weakness is, but we're not going to use our biggest strength. We're going to try to beat them the other way. I mean,
that's right.
Maybe our game plan on defense was just so next level, Gingy. You can't even understand because it doesn't look like it, but it's just next level when we play Baltimore.
I think just really psyching themselves out, right? Maybe overthinking it. I don't know. But the things that work against Steelers are the things that they do typically, and then they choose not to do them versus Steelers.
And explain to me how this happens every Baltimore game. But there's at least 3 cases where Baltimore wide receivers are wide open for 20-yard gains, and they just don't remember how to catch the football. Like, how does that happen every Steelers game?
Wide open for 20-yard games and or Lamar Jackson overthrowing them by 20 feet.
Yeah, that happened a bunch too. Gingy, I think we deserve a pat on the back because we talked about how special teams was likely to be the X factor in this. And man, I never thought I'd say the day where I get to say, hey, Justin Tucker, thanks for winning us a football game, but everybody should give that man a game ball because Justin Tucker, along with Chris Boswell, making up for Justin Tucker, doing the right thing where Tucker misses a couple. It really showcased that Tucker has started to lose that touch a little bit, and yeah, he tried to whine and blame the field, but the other kicker didn't have any problems. And Boswell's taking over that throne right now, man. That was a great thing to see in this game. Special teams advantage going the way of the Steelers.
Absolutely. All's well that's Boswell, baby. It was clutch in that game. Very clutch.
Gingy using all the lines the last 2 days that I tried to trademark a few years ago through fake football Thursdays to all's well that Boswell. Let's keep it
Yeah.
going.
Hey,
Let's keep it
fake
going.
football Thursdays. That's tough though because, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
That
Are
is
we still
fake
talking about
football.
the Ravens?
Yeah, we got a little bit more to talk about here on the Baltimore Ravens game. I mean, the defense did what they wanted to do. A couple sacks. Lowry getting his first career sack was cool to see. He also had a huge pass deflection in the game. Really, the rookie who's starting to get a little bit of playing, or not rookie, the come over offseason signing that's starting to get some playing time. I think that's right. Or is he the rookie? Man, now I'm confusing myself. But came up, had a big game, finally showed up. That's what you need to see here. That's what you want to see is some depth pieces moving forward, getting good action. The negative side, only negative side I had on the defense was, again, Minka didn't show up at all. He was way out of position a couple times, got away with it. Uh, Joey Porter Jr., man, he's got to stop grabbing people. That's a thing in both games, man. He has to stop grabbing people. It's getting people are taking advantage of it now, and he's not shutting down number one wide receivers. He needs to regain some of that rookie form that we saw from him. But when we flip the script to the offensive side of the ball here, Gingy, we're starting to see what got Russ Wilson, and this is kind of a both game thing. We're seeing what got Russ Wilson cut from Denver that they didn't want him and didn't think he could do the job. These red zone struggles, this intermediate struggle, this the team's driving and Russ takes an inexcusable 13-yard sack running backwards stuff. It needs to stop. It needs to go back to the way it was prior because settling for field goals, which is all we did, 6 of them against Baltimore, it's not going to cut it once we get to the playoffs unless we happen to draw Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't. Well, that's not out of the question completely either. But I will say no. I'd rather be in a position to finish some of those drives. What I saw in that game, the defense did come up clutch when they needed it. There were splash plays. That's and that I think that's what really determined that side. And right, if I do remember correctly, the defense ended that game.
No, yeah,
throw them off sides, basically. Yeah,
that's the Washington
they
game.
Came up.
They off sides.
Oh no, yes. Well, the defense then did end that game.
2-point conversion stop.
Yep. That was Joey Porter Jr. on that.
Yeah,
that was a nice 2-point conversion stop there. Came up at the right time.
This again is what the hell is Baltimore doing? They're running a Lamar Power to the left side where he looks like he's trying to throw the ball, but there's not a goddamn receiver running on that side of the field. What? First off, if you're going to run a run play there, isn't it a read option with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson? Like, who are you going to stop? First off, a power play for Lamar Jackson where it looked like he was trying to throw and there's no wide receivers. Dude, that whole game, I was like, what the hell are the Ravens doing? And I was loving every minute of it because they just seem lost and incapable, dude.
Yeah, that's totally right. As incapable as they might have been described, though, by you, Donkey, they still hung around in that game, right? They still. It was a game right until the very end, and the Steelers, I believe, are indeed fortunate to come out.
Najee Harris with his typical 3.5 yards of carry couldn't get the job done. Russ Wilson in the red zone, dude. That's a throw I expect a rookie to make. That interception he made in the red zone, like what the hell, man? That's it's not good football. What he was doing there, not good football. Because we had a pretty good lead at that point where a field goal would have either made it a full 7 or 8 points or would have made it a 2-score game.
Would have made it 8 points, I think. But for real, that right there, I think he thought that he had something with Darnell Washington on that play, like a telepathic message that he tried to communicate to him that Darnell Washington did not receive. Because I felt like Russell looked like he thought that Darnell was going to come back for that ball. And Darnell kind of stood there and looked at it like a deer in the headlights. He didn't make one move towards that ball, and it got picked.
I guess you mean move back in the end zone farther away because
Yeah,
it was
yeah, like
over his
try to
head.
track it and go for a 50-50 ball. Well, that Russell might have thought that he was, 7'7" instead of 6'7" or whatever he is, right?
Right.
Missed it by a little bit.
But man, the talking point to me of this Ravens game is simple. Chris Boswell, 6 for 6 in field goals, including, was it 3 50-yarders in that game? Right? Is that right? 3 50-yarders,
Mm-hmm.
3 chip
Yep.
shots, and
Yep.
Justin Tucker 1 for 3. Like, there's no. We can just stop right there. That's literally what this game was, right? Our kicker's
Yep.
better than your kicker.
That's what it came down to this time when we're talking about a 2-point game. Yeah, for sure.
And he was my shout out for this game, by the way. Like I said, I like to see this because our defense finally shut down a good offense, but the offense, man, just couldn't get it going. But here's my question for you, Gingy. Are we really allowed to read much into these division games, especially when it comes to Baltimore, where we just have Lamar's number? Like, we're going to shut him down, right? Like, here, let's predict what the score is going to be in the next Ravens game before it's even close to it. You think it's going to be something like the Steelers in the 17 to 20 points, the Ravens in the 15 to 18 points type of range?
Well, I was actually going to say probably 20-17 Steelers.
That's what every freaking one of those games feels like. Any closing points for you on this Baltimore game, Gingy?
Really hard fought win. Like to see the Steelers. I would love to see them play perfect football, of course, all the time. But in the absence of perfect football, I still like seeing W's occurring. And that's what we had. The absence of perfect football with them beating out a tough rival division opponent. Can't deny that. I love it.
Same thing with the Washington game, but it was the offense that led the game instead of the defense. So before we get to the Cleveland game, this is actually a point I wanted to talk to you, Gingy. Is the Steelers the fact that they're not great on defense? They're not great on offense. They're pretty close to great on special teams, with the exclusion being that horrible snow game where, man, Waitman finally had a bad kick at a bad time. Is it possible for a team that isn't great on one of the two major aspects to be carried by a third unit and have success in late season playoff type of football?
There's conditions to that. In a tough weather game at Pittsburgh, if our defense bend but didn't break, we could get carried by special teams to a victory. You could. I could see it. It's plausible.
So this all just runs back to, Donkey, you're right. We have to get home field, which we're still in good shape to do. So
I'm not going to deny that. I really like the idea of home field. That, I think, is a big support. I mean, didn't support us last time we were in the playoffs, but there'll be time to talk about that later.
No. I'm not talking about that game. Fuck that game. Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. Pardon the French. That's why I say this isn't for kids, so I don't get in trouble when I accidentally swear. Let's talk about this 24-19 loss on Fake Football Thursday. Just happened, fresh in the mind. I haven't even got to do a bug cap on it yet. Oh, Gingy. The Mike Tomlin's theory of football. You don't play offense till the fourth quarter. It's shown by all the slow starts we've had under every offensive coordinator, under every quarterback. There's always just these slow starts that never really equate in the long run. Slow starts, sloppy football. We've been one of the most penalized teams going on 5 years straight now. You play on a short week where you have to be really detail-oriented. This game to me just felt like the game that Mike Tomlin was going to lose. You add into it bad clock management with stupid timeouts taken. I want to say this game should be blamed on one of the units, another unit, special teams playing good. But honestly, all of them had their bright spots. All of them had their dim spots. We played the game the way Mike Tomlin wants to play the game. Cleveland is that team that recently just seems to play the Mike Tomlin version of football better than Mike Tomlin.
Well, with this game in particular, Donkey. Oh man, well that's one. Like I said at the beginning, that's one we let get away. Okay, that's very. we had the lead with 3 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
Another sloppy game, I think, overall. Another teen scoring game, but oh man, and another game where I really, 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 really wish that a team that is oriented around the running offense would be able to have somebody run the football a little bit better.
We had one running back run the football better. Unfortunately, it's not the guy we invest all our time and money into. And Gingy, this slow starting offense, another game with less than 10 points in the first half. We've seen it bite the Steelers the last like 2-3 years when it matters most. It's starting to become a real concern. I said you start judging Russ Wilson once they start getting some tape. They're getting some tape. And yeah, Russ throws a pretty deep ball. I can't argue that. He's hitting Pickens well. He hit Firemouth last game. Calvin Austin, although if he hit Calvin Austin better, the one throw, it's an easy walk-in touchdown. He did hit Calvin Austin later for the touchdown. I mean, Russ just
Good
looking
throw.
like he can't score points for 3 quarters. I've seen this show. I've been a part of this show. I've watched 4 different quarterbacks run this show. Arguably the most successful of them running this version of the show was Kenny Pickett. Not saying that's a good thing, but the hell we're not going to score till the 4th quarter thing, geez, man, it's old. It is old at this point.
Yeah, did you tell the people, Donkey, what I told him to tell? What I told you to tell him?
Yeah,
for the
every
game?
last line of it.
Yeah, the emotional letdown, I think, and or the instability in maintaining our emotions. Right? You know what I'm referring to there?
George Pickens trying to fight someone instead of go for the football on a Hail Mary is a good example. But
that's right. That's right. That's what I'm referring to. I think that just real alluding back to the Baltimore game where he had 8 catches, 80 plus yards. I was just about to say, that those are, numbers of a number 1 wide receiver in a moderately producing offense, right? Doesn't blow your hair back every single week, but can blow the top off if you need to. Take a look at how those numbers turned this week, right? Did he seem like a number 1 number guy this week? No, it was all or nothing with him. He was hot in the first quarter. I had positive vibes coming from that donkey in the first quarter. I think most of his receptions came in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Very possible. He had 448. He was always winding to the rest. That's why I've said the whole time. I mean, Pickens has an amazing ability to control his body to catch the football. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think he has that mindset to be that premier guy. I think he could put up numbers like a premier guy, just like Juju Smith-Schuster did in the Steelers offense when he was number 2 to Antonio Brown, but he puts up 1,500 yards, man. He looks like, man, can that guy be a number 1? You have that conversation. But a number 1 guy is a guy who can run the full route tree, doesn't disappear from games, doesn't let things get in his head. And George Pickens has there's zero doubt he has the physical talent with his ability to run, make moves, control his body, make the catches. But dude, you want to go back to I think it was the Baltimore game, where he catches the ball and is so worried about getting out of bounds that he doesn't get 2 feet inbounds because he takes this ginormous step out of bounds, right? Instead of getting both feet in. He just doesn't seem to be mentally strong enough to be that guy that is that number 1 receiver. And I'm going to say it, I've always said this, and you know this is how I rate him. He's like that 1B, 2A guy, right? If he's your guy, you're probably lacking a little something, at least at this point of his career. Doesn't mean he can't take a jump. You've seen receivers take jumps before. But, man, in an offense like this where he literally is the only option, although Calvin Austin can run past people, but if you ever watched Cleveland play this year, all they do is let people run past him on the back end. It's quite funny. Can we get production? And Gingy, bigger question. Mike Williams, game-winning touchdown his first game. Where the hell has he been? Like, Van Jefferson isn't good. We know that for a fact. Why the hell is Mike Williams not seeing the field? Should we be concerned?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's not like he's not seeing the ball. He's not seeing the field, really, from what I've seen. I mean, I don't know. Does he not know the packages yet? Is Arthur Smith's package system
we run 4 fucking routes. No.
Is it so locked in that he can't,
No.
Well, I don't know then, Donkey. I'd like to see him more.
Gingy, it's to the point where you can predict what's happening just like the Canada offense. Like, you remember that reverse in the Browns game where no one on the Browns left side even left the field because they knew Cordero Patterson's over there. They're going to use him as a running back, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. So then Arthur Smith is like, oh, you think I'm going to use him as a running back? Watch this shit. And in the most important 2-point conversion play of the game, we throw a freaking fade route to a running back, dude. A fade route to a running back covered by a corner. Are you kidding me, man? Our offenses. I'm sorry. Anyone who said, and I even said this, I said Arthur Smith's going to be an upgrade just because he's a capable NFL play caller. And I do believe he's a capable NFL play caller. But, man, I have to question, due to his years in Atlanta with a good running back like Bijan Robinson, his years here in Pittsburgh, where a lot of people argue Najee's a good runner. To this point, man, I'm not seeing that magic that Tennessee had. I haven't seen it since he lost Derrick Henry, to be honest.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, there are glimpses, right? I mean, there are times when I can definitely see an upgrade. There are packages and plays that surprise me still at this point, right? There is a package or a personnel unit on the field where they are not going to run the play that I thought they were going to run. That very rarely, if never, happened with Matt Canada, but that happens more often than not with Arthur Smith. Okay, I'll give you that.
I told you he is an NFL caliber play caller, but he's also way too predictable in packages. Have you seen us throw the ball when we have a tackle eligible report? The answer is no.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have not seen that.
So they know what that's going on. When you see, and it's a specific 2-person combo, when you see Connor Hayward to the right and Cordero Patterson to the left, we run the ball. Either it's a little toss play to Najee or it's a reverse to, and Cleveland knew it. They saw it coming. The predictability is not as bad. Don't get me wrong. It's 1,000 times better this year. But there's still packages in this offense that just either we're setting stuff up for late in the season or they're just packages that should be scrapped. And Gingy, this offense, let's be honest here, for 3 quarters, they did nothing. When you look at Russ's final stat line, it looks good, but do you think he played a good game?
He had some well-thrown balls, but we just had weird stuff happen, weird mistakes that shut drives down, that turn drives off, that get us just on the cusp of field goal range, but not close enough. You know what I mean? Like we had first downs. It wasn't
like
you
Russ
can see that it's not just
open receivers, like Russ taking 13-yard sacks. Like you're seeing the Russ
sacks.
Wilson that got ran out of Denver, and that's a bad sign for us, in my opinion. Is seeing this Russ Wilson
taking sacks was definitely one. He's got to get that ball out. For sure. But,
and I don't mean to be mean here, but the forced fumble Myles Garrett had, that's 1,000% on Russell Wilson. Dan Moore Jr. actually blocks him the way he should. He gives Russ the ability to move up in the pocket. And how does a guy from behind who looked like he didn't even touch the football knock it out of Russ's hands there, man? That's just that's bad.
Yeah.
That's 3 straight weeks or 3 out of 4 weeks where Russ is making rookie mistakes. There's that fumble. There's the fumble on the running play 3 or 4 weeks ago. And there's the interception against Baltimore. This is a 36-year-old, 2-time Super Bowl playing quarterback. Former Walter Payton Man of the League, MVP type caliber guy, right? He can't be making rookie level mistakes, Gingy.
Yeah, no, that didn't, and you can see that it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough when he's not completely on.
No, but I'll say this to him, dude. He does arguably throw the most catchable deep ball in the NFL. We've seen that play out through his first 5 games. He was actually pretty successful with that in Denver. The intermediate game, though, and when the field shrinks, Russ really struggles. And what I think kills the Steelers here is we don't have a way to compensate that because we tried to put in Justin Fields, and yeah, he had that explosive 30-yard run because Cleveland tackled themselves instead of him, which was kind of funny. But what else did Justin Fields do? He had 2 other carries for -4 yards. He threw 2 deep balls that were nowhere near anybody. We're failing on 4th down because we have a first-round 230-pound running back that can't gain a yard. We have a running quarterback who can't gain a yard on 3rd down or 4th down. Russell Wilson can't gain a yard on 3rd or 4th down. And Gingy, how long have we been complaining that the Steelers can't gain a yard on 3rd or 4th down? And it's been different offense coordinators, different quarterbacks, different running backs. Does Mike Tomlin not practice this stuff? Is what I have to get to, right?
I have no idea, but it is awful. Awful to see us get stuffed. If we, for 1 yard, we'll take 2 plays to try to get it and not get it. Not happening.
We'll go backwards both times.
Oh, it's miserable.
And as a team that wants to establish themselves as a big physical team, man, not being able to gain a yard is embarrassing. Gingy, this is important. We talked about in a text this morning. This is the 3rd loss for the Steelers, and all 3 losses, Najee Harris has averaged 3 yards per carry or less. The only time he's averaged 3 yards a carry or less and we won was the Commanders game. Is Najee the key to the Pittsburgh Steelers? I know we want to talk Justin Fields. I know we want to talk Russell Wilson, which, by the way, if you watch the games, Russell Wilson should be the starter. But, Gingy, there's the old adage, and we played 2 quarterbacks this game. If you play 2 quarterbacks, what does that mean for you?
Oh, got no quarterbacks, donkey.
It's kind of starting to feel that way these last couple games. We really need to get out, get it running. Rush really needs to establish this as his job because Fields had his chance, man, and it wasn't good enough. We saw what the problems in Chicago were. Russ is having his chance, but we're seeing what the problems were in Denver. These guys need to show that they were either that first-round pick or, in Russ's case, that star-caliber quarterback that we saw in Seattle. But now let's go forward. Maybe we're talking too much about them. Maybe it's the offensive line. Maybe it's Dan Moore Jr. getting dominated. That's the problem. Maybe it's the fact that interior pressure has been increased in both games since Zach Frazier took over for McCollum again. Yeah. Is Najee Harris, though, actually the biggest part of the Steelers' offense as a conglomerate? I'm not going to say the offensive line because Jaylen Warren has run good in all of those games to about 4.5 yards a carry. So it's not the offensive line fully because Jaylen Warren's still getting his. Is Najee Harris the biggest piece to this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
I think it is. Najee's success, there has to be stats that show that Steelers' success is really contingent upon Najee's success.
I will come back to you as part of our breakdown for the next game and tell you that. I can tell you what it is this year. Like I said, 3 of the 4 games where he averaged 3 yards or less, the Steelers lost. Every game he's averaged over 4 yards, they've won. Hell, even when he averages just above 3 yards a carry, between 3.1 and 3.9, they've won every one of those games as well this year.
And he didn't get it done in the Cleveland game, right? We're talking about a weather condition in which you think a guy built like Najee Harris would really thrive, right?
Just I don't know. Hit the pile and push it for 4 yards. Sled him forward, baby.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's early in the season.
Do you remember Jerome Bettis in bad weather, dude? It was like ride the bus, man. Ride the bus.
I don't know if it's early in the season and he didn't get his snow tires on yet or what, but
he's too much of a Southern boy. He ain't got no snow tires. He's from Bama, not Notre Dame.
Oh, come on, donkey. You gotta have some snow tires.
He's only got
in this
slicks,
weather,
man. He ain't even got rain tires, Gingy.
Jeez, he needs some LaShawn McCoy lessons then, donkey. Try to get it done out there in the weather.
Dude, if he had a quarter of the shiftiness of Shady, he might be the best back in football.
Yeah, it's true.
Shady was the man, dude. He just needs to be able to not fall on his face. More like, if I was going to compare him to a Pitt or a Steelers running back, man, Curtis Martin's who he needs to run like. One cut and hard, baby.
I wouldn't mind that either.
I don't know what to say about this offense.
It's not getting it done. Yeah,
it's getting worse. Progressively worse.
Yeah, you're not wrong, right? I agree with that. It didn't look good the last couple games. Not as good as it did versus the Commanders.
No, no. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm really happy that Jaden Daniels had hurt ribs because he didn't run at all in that game, and I think that's why. And I was super stoked about that. Sometimes running into people at the right time is what you need. Also, them being without their big physical running back, play right into the Steelers' hands. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
hear that.
but Gingy, we'd be remiss if we didn't say, man, the special teams has a part to do with this game too. I know the Browns shanked a punt, and their shank was worse than Waitman's. Their shank only went 12 yards. Waitman's only punt of the day though goes only 15 yards. Can't get it done on fourth down. Have a punt that goes 15 yards, and Boswell finally is human and misses a 50-yard field goal. But I think Waitman and Boswell get a pass here. But we have to mention the special teams, which has been the great unit for the Steelers this year. They weren't there in that Cleveland game, in that little snow flurry on the lake game, whatever you want to call it.
That's right.
Just is this a harbinger of things to come that weather's going to start playing an effect on our great unit, or do you think this was just a one-off due to inclement weather that they'll be more prepared for next time?
I think they're going to be more prepared next time. Typically, we find this is a December football team, right? If they're going to do anything, they turn it on late, and it's because they have great
don't
defense.
Start till January. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Playoffs don't start till January. So yes, December
Yeah,
football
you know
team.
what?
I'm down.
The way that the Steelers have been playing the last few years, though, Donkey, riding this almost 500 football, playoffs pretty much start second week of December. Don't get me wrong. Pretty much for since Steelers land, it does if they're going to do anything at all.
I know we're here talking like it's a one-off that's not going to be the case this year, but you look at this schedule, there's a very likely scenario we could just be fighting for 500 football if we don't start picking up the play style.
I don't like limping in. Limping in is going to be, if they get in at all, if that's the scenario that you're posing that's true, that's a definite one-and-done scenario.
Hey. The way I look at it is the teams that are fighting for the wild card right now at the bottom of that division, or the bottom of the NFC or AFC, excuse me. We beat most of them, so at least we have the tiebreaker almost everywhere. But it's time to get this team going. It's time to get rolling. We haven't talked about the defense. Is there a way to be good and bad in the same game, Gingy?
What was that, Donkey?
The defense, is there a way to be good and bad in the same game? Like this Cleveland game, I don't know what to say about the defense, man.
Well, I don't think they played well enough, right? You know how we talked about them really having to shut down
sets us up. Like if it wasn't for the defense, we're not even in the game. But then the defense just buckles, Gingy. I don't know what to say because the offense doesn't do shit if the defense doesn't set them up. This is much like, how many times did we have this conversation last year at Kenny Pickett, where it's like, man, if the defense doesn't keep us in the game and because those turnovers, Pickett can't win it for us, right?
Right.
Well, now we're having this conversation, but it's the defense did its job, but then the offense couldn't finish enough. Like,
Yep. Just got to have both units working in sync at their potential.
And let's not gloss over the fact here, that's the second most points the Cleveland Browns have scored this year. Okay, and this is a Cleveland Browns team that got rid of their number one wide receiver, got their starting quarterback hurt, and this is the second most points they put up. And let's not act like, oh, but Jameis Winston's changed the team. Dude, New Orleans shut them the hell down. New Orleans held them to 14 frickin' points, and New Orleans
not perfect,
sucks.
But they're different than a Deshaun Watson team.
Well, I'll tell you that. I personally think Massage Watson only has a job because, well, they're paying him too much money for him not to play, right?
That's right.
But we can't sit here and say, Jameis Winston's turned this team around on fire. Dude, they scored 14 points last week against New Orleans in perfect conditions in a dome.
No, I really think that we should have been able to shut them down more. Nick Chubb, if we're talking, you said Nick Chubb X Factor.
Under 3 yards of carry.
That is what we're talking about. The end zone. Finding the end zone. Those are the instances where you really want the Steelers to be able to put them in a position to Drive them back. Big defensive line guys. Come on. Nah. Giving up 2
Jameis
touchdowns in one
Winston.
game.
Jameis Winston not throwing the ball on a third or fourth and goal, running and leaping backwards in the end zone thinking he's freaking Saquon Barkley.
Yep. No, can't let that happen. 3 touchdowns on the ground, Donkey. Can't let it happen.
3 turnovers, though, right? Or 2? 2 turnovers?
2 fumbles and an interception, I believe.
Yeah, Jameis had that fumble that was knocked out by Baby Herbig, recovered by Sean Elliott.
And they, of course,
interception to Donta Jackson, because our 2 offseason acquisitions in the back end have been good. Special note we didn't talk about, Gingy. It's back to the Ravens game. Derrick Henry's first lost fumble in like 500-plus touches kind of set the tone early in that Ravens game, don't you think?
Ripped out by Patrick Queen, right?
Yep. No, Patrick Queen was the Isaiah Likely one.
Okay. My bad.
Right before the end of the half.
My mistake.
I told you Patrick Queen was going to come in that game. But what I'm going to say,
happened?
And the reason I wanted to point that out is,
where'd he go?
The Steelers seem to be able to win games where we set the tone early, but this team just doesn't seem able to set the tone early often.
No, they sure don't.
And that, to me, is a huge fail on coaching. And this is the last point I want to talk about on the Browns game here, is coaching. Okay, was it 3rd and 10 we took a timeout on offense? It was something stupid. We took a timeout early in the second half on offense. When we're losing, you can't waste timeouts there. But the dumber thing I ever saw was after about a 2-minute deliberation about whether Mike Tomlin's going to take this illegal touching on the drive that ends up winning it for Cleveland, he decides to accept the penalty. So instead of 4th and 2, it's 3rd and 7. Why the hell are you giving them an extra play? But not only that, after 2 minutes of deliberation and all this break, the dummy uses a timeout, Gingy. Like, is there a worse coaching compounding mistake than what happened there at the end of the game?
No, it didn't do us any favors. Didn't do us any favors there with that. Wasn't very good.
I got to ask you, because I'm personally on the board of you make them get it in one play. If it's 4th or 2 or 3rd and 7, which one do you take? Because I'll tell you where I am. Like I said, I'm always on the you give them less plays in the modern NFL. That's
where I'm at. 4th and 2.
Yeah, if you have a defense that can shove people down, that's where you should be. I'm sick of watching games where we lose to lesser opponents because our coaching staff doesn't seem to be prepped. We came into the game, didn't look like we had the better game plan, didn't look like we knew what we were really doing. It was sloppy, it was poorly executed. Yeah, it's a short week, but Gingy, this isn't a short week problem. This is an every week problem, or at least a majority of the week problem. This team needs to get cleaned up and needs to get disciplined.
Not very consistent on any phase of football. Besides special teams, our special teams have been pretty dang consistent this season. I'm not going to do them like that.
Freaking Browns game, dude.
I'm not going to do them like that. I'm not going to do them like that. One off is fine, right? We're talking about massive roller coasters on the other phases of football here.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, there is one play in particular in that Browns game that made me super happy. Calvin Austin caught a contested deep pass for a touchdown, dude. Seeing that made me happy because he has struggled so much with ball skills when there's people around him. That catch made me happy. That's about the only point of that game that made me happy.
Opportunity for development there, Donkey. That's a coachable guy.
He's playing to the point where I'm about to say we have a number 3 wide receiver, Gingy. I'm about to say it.
Yeah, you ready for that? Are you ready to make that commitment?
To have a number 3 wide receiver? I've been begging for a number 3 wide receiver since the offseason. Not even a number 2, just a number 3.
I'd be all right with that too. And no, he's starting to look like he might be that guy. I love it.
Yeah, that was good to see. Anything else for you here, Gingy, on this Browns game?
Oh man, that was a hard fought game. for sure, in tough conditions, early wintertime weather. But to be honest, they're winning with 3 minutes to go. The Steelers defense got to clean that up. And that is where I understand we talked about all the other aspects where we're at with offense and why didn't Najee put the snow tires on and every other thing, but
and the poor
they
offense
clean
get
that
put
up.
behind the 8 ball with a minute to go and only 1 timeout instead of a minute to go and 3 timeouts because, well, we can't manage the freaking clock to save our lives.
Yeah, and George Pickens not being able to keep himself emotionally stable for 4 quarters. And yes, we talked about all that. All that is true. But the defense got to clean that up. That's my thought on that, Donkey.
You're not wrong. The money is spent on this defense. This is a defensive team. We play to kick field goals, and you can say what you want. Watch our play calling change once we get inside the 30. We play to kick field goals because we trust that defense. They need to earn it.
They got to clean that up, for sure.
They definitely need to earn it. Guys need to stop getting handsy, making dumb penalties. Guys need to get home. TJ Watt needs to become all-world again, Gingy, because he's been missing way too often lately. And it's not fair to call him out because he's having a great year still. But, dude, we need him to have not a great year. We need him to have an all-world year, right? We need him to be the best pass rusher in the NFL to be a team that is maybe not compete. Maybe we can compete for a playoff win with him just being good, great. We'll say great. Just being great, but I don't think we can compete for a championship without him being all-world.
I mean, it's a bummer we got to ask that from him because that's pretty unreasonable.
Especially at his 30s. At his 30s where pass rushers tend to drop off a little bit.
That's pretty unreasonable ask of him, but it sure would be nice if you could.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's his fault. I just think he's the player that has shown the ability to be the guy that can take us there, right?
That's right. That is right. That's a great way of putting it, I think.
It's nothing against anything he's done because he has been great. It's just we know that you can be that guy because you've been that guy, and God almighty, do we need you to be that guy.
We need you to be that guy. We'd like it quite a bit, thank you. It would really pull that defense together. Right, because I don't think we have it. We just don't have anything close to that anywhere else.
Not in the least. Gingy, we have one more pick to do for this week. Cincinnati's on a bye week. Everyone made up a game on you, Gingy. You better watch out. We're coming.
Oh
no. We have who's the second game here? Do I have Lasker's pick for the second game, Gingy? Because it should be Baltimore, right? Yeah, Lasker's likes the Ravens in the game, and they're going to the Chargers too this week, right? Am I losing my mind?
I do not know that. Couldn't tell you.
I believe we had they're going to the Chargers. That's what I thought. I thought it was back-to-back weeks. We had Cincy going there last week. We got the Ravens going there this week. Ravens? Chargers. Chargers are ahead of them in the wild card standings right now. Chargers are playing better football. You got to give Harbaugh some credit. That team's 7-3 already. They are in a spot where if Kansas City keeps slipping, they might have a chance to step up. Could you imagine the Chiefs not with a home playoff game, Gingy? I understand the Chiefs have one loss. I should really stop talking like their sky's falling for them. But we could dream.
Keep dreaming. Give me the Ravens.
You know what? It's Monday. It's on the West Coast. It's the Harbaugh Bowl. Oh, baby. I'm going with the Chargers, Gingy. I got to make up some ground, and I really feel like feel like there's some fight in
What's the line on that right now? Is there a line on that? Let me see.
Let's see if I got one popped up on my Chargers +3.
Yeah, I'm not calling nothing around that. I'm just saying Ravens.
Over-under's 51.
No, don't give me any of that either, Donkey. I do not know. I don't want no piece of either one of that. +3. Underdogs at home. I mean, I guess. No. Give me Ravens, Donkey. Let's keep it moving.
All right, last as you like the Ravens. Hard to say words today.
Raiders.
God dang it. I lost my train of thought. Shout out time, Gingy. Do you have one since this is for Baltimore and Cleveland? We could just do a Baltimore game shout out since you don't like the losing ones if you like.
Of course I do. Yes. I mean, no surprise. Sorry, it's a copy of you, Donkey.
Well, you're fine. I got a different one for today.
Boz. Well, 6 field goals in one game, entirely carrying an entire offense on his shoulders. And not only that, but I do believe I saw a stat line. He is one of the first players to kick 5+ field goals in 2 games in a season.
That's more of a telling fact about our offense, ain't it?
That's it. Yeah, you know what it tells you? Chris Boswell's the man.
Chris Boswell is the offense, Donkey. I'm saying it for last year because I know if he's listening, that's what he's thinking.
He's the man. Okay, that's what it tells you. Shout out Chris Boswell. No, I don't have shout outs for losses. Get better.
He has been absolutely money. Secondary shout out, since I already got to do Boswell earlier when I had to do the preview of the Browns game. Dean Lowry, we signed him coming over from Minnesota. He finally had a game where he showed why he was the depth piece we wanted. Had a sack, a huge pass deflection. That's the kind of stuff you need to see. We need to see going forward. We got a long time now to prep for the Bengals. Or Bengals. Yeah, I'm right. The Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals.
Gingy, it's time to get those towels a little spiffy, get them cleaned up, get them ready to roar, yell, and be rowdy for the next game. But it's time to let you know I'm the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey at Twitch, at Twitter, your daily dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's the awesome YouTube channel where you get all this fun content. You got a review of the Browns game before we get a bug cap, but there will be a bug cap next week. There will be some Steelers talk next week, and hopefully there will be a half game farther lead for the Steelers in the division. Gingy, send it out.
Mutant Gingy in the house. We talking football. We hanging out. It is a bittersweet review of the last 2 weeks of the Steelers. But, folks, enjoy your mini-bye. Enjoy your holiday season next week for those folks listening in America. You know what?
Best holiday of the year, baby. Gobble, gobble.